Hi, my name is Rachel Norgard, and this is my final presentation for the Watcha Watchin app for PRM620 Agile Projects. The concept for my product is an app that enables people to keep track of the content they're watching while also allowing them to create a wish list and share their top 10 with others. It includes a free download with minimum functionality, and then it moves into the paid app that is the second release that has more features and also targets people that typically stream content from multiple streaming services and are willing to pay for keeping track of that content. It also capitalizes on the 2020 world pandemic stay-at-home orders, since many people will be watching content from home and needing to keep track of it. This project fits within Agile because it's new software development with a lot of complexity and unknowns, and that makes it a perfect fit for Agile. It also delivers value into customers' hands with each release, but it needs a timely first release due to the global situation and market demand. Now that's going to happen through the MVP. That's minimum viable product. And if you look at the image at the top, you'll see a skateboard transforming into a car. So this is delivering actual value into the customer's hands through each release and kind of expanding on the last iteration. The sprints allow the development team to improve each feature with feedback loops. So that allows them to continue to improve. And the team also needs to come up with their own definition of ready and done, so it's very clear, and all of the stakeholders are aligned on what that means. User stories ensure all important and valuable features are included, along with related acceptance criteria. Here is my vision statement, which is an elevator pitch. It should include the target customer and the key differentiators from previous or competitive products. So here it is. Have you ever lost track of what season and episode you last watched of your favorite show? With the Watcha Watchin app, you will be able to keep track of the TV shows and movies you have watched or want to watch, explore new content created just for you, and share your curated list with your family and friends. Tired of logging into various accounts to watch your favorite shows and movies? The Watcha Watchin app will also link to your streaming subscription accounts, so you can watch all content within the app without the hassle of logging into various accounts. So what you watching? Maybe even you don't know, so download the app today to keep track of your favorite shows and movies. My team is a feature team, which is a long-lived, cross-functional, cross-component team that completes many end-to-end customer features one by one. The Scrum team includes the product owner, Scrum Master, and development team. The product owner participates in sprints, plans and grooms the backlog, and also defines acceptance criteria. The Scrum Master is a servant leader and protects the team. He or she also removes impediments and is a guru on the Scrum process. The development team is self-organizing, has T-shaped skills which are both wide and deep, and has a musketeer attitude, which is an one for all and all for one. I used a RASI chart in order to determine the roles and responsibilities of my own team. R is for responsible, A is for accountable, C is for consulted, and I is for informed. I'm just going to go ahead and give you a couple examples from my chart. So for creating and keeping current the product roadmap, the product owner would be both responsible and accountable, but the Scrum Master should be consulted. Also, the development team, project manager, and steering and marketing committee need to be informed on that. For communicating delivery timelines, it's going to be the project manager that's actually accountable for that, but the product owner will be responsible for it, and the Scrum Master and development team should be consulted, but lastly, the steering and marketing committee need to be informed. Here's a continuation of the roles and responsibilities of my own team. So for every single item, it just needs to be very clear who is doing what and who needs to be informed or consulted, and this will also aid in tailoring our communication methods. Now on to story mapping, which I think is a pretty fun and interesting part of the project. For a story map, you're going to first write a user story. So that includes writing down how a feature is going to address a customer's need. So once you have written down the stories, you're going to go ahead and prioritize them according to themes. So here I have my story map. Green is for the themes, blue is for the stories that are for the free version of the app, and orange is for the paid version of the app. And they are going to be in order of priority from top to bottom. They also go in the workflow of how a user will experience the product. Here's an overview of my release planning. First of all, I use a fixed date in order to plan my releases. I also calculated my team's velocity by averaging out the low and high velocity, and I came to 36 points per sprint. Now each sprint is 2 weeks. I also used the backlog in order to prioritize the features that we would be developing during the sprint. Here's how I figured out the cost of each sprint and each release. I have listed here each person on my team, and I included their role, and then I figured what their hourly rate was multiplied times their capacity, which is kind of like their availability that they would be working on this project. So I was able to figure out for each person how much it would cost, and that helped me to determine how much it would cost per sprint. And since I know how many sprints are in a release, then I could figure out the cost for the release, which is $44,400. Here's the product roadmap and release timeline, which I combined into one. The project will start April 6th and is scheduled to finish July 10. Now, by knowing our velocity, which is 36 story points per sprint, and one sprint is 2 weeks, we have 2 sprints per release. So that means that we have 4 releases, and it will take around 14 weeks. So each sprint will include these different features. Now I want to dive into both of my sprints, but first of all, I'll talk a little bit about planning the sprints. So sprint planning always happens at the very beginning of a sprint, but it's using the groomed backlog that has happened during the last sprint. So the planning allows us to know exactly what we're going to be working on and have it in an organized fashion. Here are some sprint planning tips from romanpichler.com. Number 1, come prepared. This means that the backlog needs to be refined. Now this should happen in the previous sprint, so the backlog should be prioritized, and then you take the items from there and organize them into what you'll complete during the sprint. Also, there should be no huge changes to the backlog during the sprint because this also helps for the consistency, but if there's a lot of changes, it does decrease the morale of the team. Number 2, focus on the sprint goal. The goal is what guides the team and leads them to success. The sprint goal can include addressing a risk or a piece of functionality or other things as well. The sprint goal candidate can actually be determined in the backlog grooming on the previous sprint instead of during the sprint planning phase. This kind of allows the team to sort of hit the ground running during this sprint. Number 3, be present. This is more geared toward the product owner, but it's talking about attending the meetings and making sure to have all those interactions with the development team. Number 4, respect the team's right to say no, but hold people accountable. So this is in order to keep the sprints at a sustainable pace and also to minimize stress of the team. The whole point is that they should be able to continue this sort of cadence on a long-term basis, and that helps to prolong the life of the team, ideally. For Sprint 1, the goal is have a free version of the app halfway complete for Release 1. The features include download the app, confirm the email, register for the app, and create the profile. It starts April 6th and ends April 17th. The sprint timeline includes agile ceremonies such as daily stand-ups, sprint planning, backlog grooming and prioritization, sprint review, and the retrospective. It also includes sprint execution, which is going to be the team actually working on the features that are listed here, but also including quality and risk management approaches. Now, because the transparent communication and feedback loops are an integral part of Agile, this will also help with making sure that the stakeholders are aligned on quality and that there is great risk mitigation happening as well. Here's the burn down chart for Sprint 1. So this is all of the story points that need to be completed by the end of the sprint, and it shows how the team is progressing on actually completing those. So you'll see that it's not a straight line down, but that's because sometimes there are additional points being added that also need to be completed while the team is burning all the points down. A retrospective is continuous improvement of performing the Scrum process. So at the end of Sprint 1, the retrospective was this. We need to keep the stand-up meetings no more than 15 minutes, improve allowing the team to self-organize and not just delegating tasks to the members, and to update the Kanban chart daily. Moving on to Sprint 2, we have chosen some retrospective items to work on for this sprint, which is to keep the stand-up meetings no more than 15 minutes and to update the Kanban chart daily. We're just starting with some cut and dry items. The goal for Sprint 2 is a free version of the app that's complete, so it's ready for release 1. The features include search for content and select it, select and deselect watched, as well as select and deselect wish list. The sprint starts April 20th and ends May 1st. Sprint 2 includes planning the sprint, and that is taking into account the backlog grooming that we already did in Sprint 1 to make sure that we are continuing to work on the higher priority and higher value items first. So we will make adjustments along the way as we communicate through the daily stand-ups and through the sprint executions. And again, it's going to have a sprint review towards the end, and at the very end, a retrospective. The idea is to continue this cycle through all the sprints until the product is completely finished. Again, we can monitor the iteration progress through the sprint burn down chart. The Watcha Watchin app helps you keep track of all the shows and movies you can't live without, especially during quarantine during the year 2020. We are ready to develop this app from concept through the first 2 sprints, all planned out and ready to go. By prioritizing value, we can deliver to our customers. Thanks for watching and stay safe.